Well, hello, how are you lovely people? I had an intense week last week because I was taking part in a short story contest. I almost didn't do it. I've entered this contest before, so I know from experience that once that countdown clock starts, you don't have a life until the countdown is done. You live and breathe your story 24 hours a day for a full week, and I just didn't know if I'd have the time. I've had so much going on. But the ad for this contest kept showing up on my social media pages, and in the end, I just had to do it. The contest is called the NYC Midnight Short Story Challenge, and here's how it works. When you enter, your name goes into this pool. The names are drawn out of the pool and randomly put into groups. Each group is assigned a genre, a subject, and a character. So, for instance, you could be assigned the genre of comedy, the subject could be travel, and the character could be a school teacher. You get your assignment by email at midnight on the day the contest starts, and from that point you have a week to write a short story in your assigned genre that incorporates your assigned character and your assigned subject. That's the easy part. The hard part is the word count limit. The story cannot be longer than 2,500 words. Different people, obviously, have different approaches. Some people are capable of being brief right off the bat. I am not one of these people. My strategy is to write the story I want to write without regard for the word count. The goal is to just get the story down. Once I have the story down, then I work on the word count, and that's what takes most of the allocated week. I finished my first draft on, I think, Sunday, so a couple of days after the countdown started. My word count was 5,597 words, which meant I had to cut 3,097 words, which is more words than the story is allowed to be in the first place. In other words, I had to cut more than half of my story and still tell the story. I'm going to tell you how I did it. Maybe you can take something useful from it. My first pass was just a regular round of editing. First drafts are not meant to be polished. They're often messy and wordy, and that's fine. The number one goal of a first draft is to get the story out. During the first round of editing, I fixed up plot holes and character inconsistencies. I identified sentences or paragraphs that didn't need to be there, and I got rid of those. And I tidied up the messy, wordy writing. That process got rid of almost 2,000 words. Then I looked at the scenes I had in my story, and I asked myself this question. Does this scene contribute to the story, or does it contribute to character development? Now, in a full-length novel, we expect scenes devoted to character development, especially early on in the book. We'll see scenes devoted to the character at work, or cooking their dinner, or going hiking with their dog. There is value in fleshing out who the character is and what their ordinary world looks like. It's part of the build-up. In short stories, there is no time for that. There has to be character development, but it has to be woven into the narrative of the story itself. So scenes that do nothing but tell us about the character or their ordinary world need to be cut. If the information in that scene is pertinent to what happens in the story, you have to find a way of encapsulating it in a sentence or a line of dialogue. For example, in one of my original scenes, my character is at work. The scene describes some interactions between her and the people she talks to, and it sheds some light on who she is. But her workplace has nothing to do with the story. The reader needs to know what she does for a living, but there's no need to actually see her doing her job. So I was able to cut that entire scene and replace it with 2 lines of dialogue that came to a total of about 15 words. Then I drilled it down even further. I looked at the scenes I had left, one at a time. For each one, I examined every sentence to see whether it contributed to the story itself. Does this sentence move the story forward? Is it something the reader really needs to know? In my story, my character flies to a different city and then takes an Uber to her final destination. The Uber doesn't factor into the story at all, neither does the Uber driver. All we need to know is that she goes from the airport to another place. Does the audience need to be told that she took an Uber, or could they figure this out themselves? I took the part about the Uber out, and the story flowed just fine without it. Once I had been through this whole process, I was left with about 150 words to cut. I achieved that by tightening up sentences and finding words to eliminate here and there. Instead of meeting someone at the post office, I had my character meet her at the library. One of the other characters originally died of a heart attack, and I changed it to an aneurysm. I found that using a few contractions in lines of dialogue not only eliminated words, it ended up sounding more like natural speech. This final phase got me within the word count, and then all that was left was to read the whole thing to make sure it flowed. In the end, I turned in my entry a couple of hours before the countdown ended, which is a change from the last time I did this, when I went right down to the wire, literally seconds to spare. Now all that's left is to wait for the results and see if I got into the next round, which involves fewer words and less time. So that was my crazy adventure last week. I will keep you updated with the results and any future rounds if I get through this round. If you found the tips in this video helpful, please consider subscribing. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.